And good afternoon. Welcome to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show. Catherine Tyson, your host. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It is Thursday and it is Success 101. That's what we do on Thursdays. We want to highlight our young Caymanians that are out there doing great and amazing things because we are, that's the first thing, and to inspire the listeners and the people driving along in traffic and our parents that are raising these amazing little children. And, just that they are inspired that, what, we can do it. We really, really can. That is so important, right? And so that's what we're doing this afternoon. And today, and no different from any other Thursday, we have an amazing, awesome young Caymanian that's really out there doing great things and living a dream, basically, because you're creating the life that you want and you're, getting the results from it. And you know that you got to be on your grind and you're doing it, right? And so thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. We will be highlighting Mr. Casey Reed this afternoon. So we'll say good afternoon to him quickly. Good afternoon, Casey.
Good afternoon, Miss Catherine. How you doing?
I'm good. And welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on.
All right. So when people say Miss Catherine, that's usually because I know them from a long time, and I knew Casey before he was born. Goodness, where does the time go?
Yeah, time has disappeared.
It has completely disappeared. So Casey, you are here with me this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me. We aim to inspire. We aim to, use your story, use that as fuel for other people, right? And I think for me, what are we doing here on this earth anyway, right? If we're not really trying to touch someone and try to leave it better than when we came into it, like at least do no harm, right? Like that to me is so important, right? And so your life really is kind of a testament of that, I believe. You got good parents, first of all. I know that. Kudos to my friends. Okay. I'm trying not to embarrass you, but that's just what we do. I don't know if I'm going to be able to not do that. So work with me, bear with me. Right. But yeah, so definitely great foundation. And I talk about that all the time, especially with my parents that are listening, put in what you want to get out. And your parents, I mean, they have it's four of you, right?
Yes.
Well, four.
I have to count really quick.
Well, it's a lot more than that. I know, because it's a whole story.
The whole thing. Yeah.
His, hers, mine, ours. Right. Okay. So yeah, we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Let's come off of that. How many it is? Okay. But who is Casey Reed? Tell me a little bit about you. I know you sent your stuff over, but tell me a little bit about you.
Well, if I had to put it in a nutshell, at this point, of course, with the pandemic here, an idea that I've had for quite a while was birthed, and that was creating a podcast. And that's what I did last year. I created a podcast called the Creatively Paid Podcast. And that podcast is primarily geared towards those who are creatives, photographers, designers, videographers, and helping them learn the business side of creativity. And in a nutshell, that's kind of me right now in terms of what I'm doing. Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, that's a nutshell. So we're definitely going to crack open that nut and see what's in there.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit, because I want to talk about the podcast for sure. I want to talk about, how exciting that is that you've created that, and, how people can kind of get on top of that, to figure out where it is or whatever and what it's about, as well as maybe someone might be interested themselves in doing it. So, just kind of your route. So I think that'd be cool. But I wanted to talk a little bit about your background. So let's go back to come forward.
Yep.
All right. So Casey, I remember when you came home from school, actually, you had just graduated. I used to
Yes.
see you walking in town. I think you were handing out
Yeah.
resumes them days.
Yes.
So a
Oh
little
man.
frustrating for a second, right? How
Yeah.
long did it take for you to get a job?
Um,
Not too long, I
I
don't
think it was
think.
about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was a little
Yeah.
decent little while. It was a lot of interviews,
Yeah.
a lot of conversations with people, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's one of the things I think that when we talk about it, we talk about how frustrating that is.
yeah,
Young people are like, I have my degree and I'm walking up and down, I can't
right,
get no job, and they want experience, where I can get that from.
yeah,
Some people have gone a year, and thank goodness, you have the support of your family. I had
right,
dealt with the same thing with my actually, doesn't it?
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then you get that experience, and then people are calling you, and then you're
right,
saying, "Look here, I don't have the time." That feels good,
yeah,
but that work needs to go in, right?
yes,
Yeah,
that's so important to really get your feet in and get that experience. Yeah,
yeah,
and it definitely makes a big difference because, as you said, over time you start to realize, you start to feel that value because people are like coming and be like,
of
"Hey, do
course.
you want this job? Do you want this job?" And it feels good to be able to turn down and to be able to make a decision in terms of if you want to pivot to go somewhere else or so on and so forth. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
that definitely feels good. And I talk to a lot of young people who are frustrated.
yeah,
And some of them are frustrated and they might have just finished high school. And I'm saying,
right,
listen, you've put nothing in yet.
yeah,
Trust me when I tell you that 10 years from now, when you put that work in, you're going to be on the other side and you're going to go, oh, this is what it feels like.
yeah,
But the time does need to be put in. So patience is very important
very,
too,
very important.
and starting at the bottom,
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that. So what did you want to be when you grew up then? What was that? When did you kind of know what you wanted to do with your life, and what were you
Yeah.
thinking around 13, 14 years old?
13, 14. I'm in high school at that time. Or
Right. A little middle
middle
school,
schoolish.
getting into,
Yeah.
yeah.
But honestly, for me, around that time, I wasn't completely sure.
Right.
I was actually heading in the direction of accounts. So going
Okay.
into accounting, and IT was kind of there because it was something I was just naturally like really good at, but I wasn't quite sure. So it wasn't until high school, and after I went through, I did like accounts for, because like in year 11, year 12, you get to choose the
Right.
classes. So I chose accounts and IT and other classes. And once I did my first internship, I did my first internship at an accounting firm, but they put me in the IT department of that firm. And for me, when I experienced not saying accounting is the most boring job in the world, but for me, when I saw the life of being an accountant, I knew that that just wasn't for me.
Right.
And I
Okay.
loved what it felt like to be in the IT department and solving those kind of issues and problems.
Right.
So around that time, that's what kind of solidified my choice to be like, yeah, I'm gonna get into IT.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I see that you have a bachelor's degree in management information systems.
Yep.
And so that's at that point, you decided, okay, I want to go study this. This is what I want to get a degree in, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yep. All right. And so you traveled to Alabama.
Yep, Alabama.
Out deep South Alabama. Okay. Oakwood University.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
How was that?
That was honestly, and I probably might say this for the remainder of my life, that was probably the best time of my life.
Wow.
College years was amazing. Met lifelong friends, and I really learned a lot about myself during college times. And yes, the degree was great, and getting through the classes was a process. But overall, the social experience and the networking that took place in college was huge for
Right.
me. That's
Right.
where I really understood what it felt like to be in the real world and not just be in the safe bubble of home,
Right.
actually being out there and seeing people that I don't really know like that, interacting with a different culture, so on and so forth. Yeah. And I really, really enjoyed it and learned so much
Yeah.
holistically within college. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. So, one of my children, my son David, that you
Yeah.
guys work together.
Mhm.
He has a degree in information systems and software,
Okay.
and he got that from the University of North Carolina,
Yes,
Charlotte.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it sounds like the same degree
Yeah,
basically.
it's pretty similar. Yeah.
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 And so, yeah, but Oakwood now is a private. It's a
Yes.
right.
Yes.
It's a Seventh Day Adventist
Right.
university, and I think it's your mom's alma mater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so. I remember I
Yeah.
remember when it was fresh
Yeah.
and we were young girls and we'd be talking about Oakwood.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool that her children kind of went
Yeah.
on experience also.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that's been very consistent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So then you came back home like right away, right after you finished?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
In 2015. Funny enough, I was hoping to be able to work in the States for a bit and then come back. But I'm thankful that God just didn't allow that to happen.
Okay.
Because yeah. And then just ended up coming straight home. And
So why are you
yeah.
thankful? Why do you think that was the better thing not to do?
For me, I felt like the experiences that I've been able to have here in Cayman at home, it's the people that I met and I've met over time and the various companies that I've interacted with. If I gave that time up to for something else in terms of working for a different company, so on and so forth, in the States or wherever, I don't think it would have been the same in terms of like my specific experiences and the networking I've been able to have and how that has affected my trajectory in terms of where I can go within Cayman and who I know at this point based on the experiences that I've had here. So it
Right.
could have been great, could have ended up at Google or,
Yeah.
or wherever.
Let's not talk about that. It all happened the way it was supposed to happen. We're staying up now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So now, how many jobs would you say that you've had then since coming back?
Since coming back, 3, including the one I have right now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And pretty much in the same field.
Yep.
So you do have to kind of feel around
Yeah.
and try things and accept certain, certain conditions that might not be ideal, right? Yeah.
Yes.
What would you tell a
definitely.
young person that's listening now, just going to college and they think when they come back with their degree, the whole world is just waiting on them? What would you tell them?
Man, the first thing I would tell them that your expectations they won't be what you think when you actually come back home. Because in the real world, a lot of jobs, a lot of companies, they are looking for employees that can do the work that they need. So it's you kind of have to be willing to just get started. And as you said, starting at the bottom,
Right.
because you won't have experience yet. That's just the reality. You
Right.
don't have experience yet. You're fresh out of college, and you really have to come with a mindset of being open and willing to learn as much as you can
Right.
for the next few years.
Right.
And then from there, things will change as you develop. But
Right.
that's something you definitely want to keep in mind. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Well, because the lessons start when you walk across that graduation stage, like literally.
Yep.
You get all the classes, you're in the books, you're passing stuff, you're
Yeah.
passing your exams, and you feel like you know something.
Yeah.
And it's but you don't
Yeah.
until you really know the theory. But when you can touch it and feel it and you experience different things, now you can start saying, okay, this is what they're talking about, right?
Yeah,
And I
right.
think that that's important. I remember when I was doing my master's degree, I had a few Oakwood people coming who
Yeah.
had done their bachelor's in social work. So it was MSW I was doing. And
Yeah.
it was about a coalition of about 10 loud, wild girls,
Yeah.
Adventists.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nice.
Yeah.
And they were just like, they were so in awe every time we were in the class and the teacher would ask a question, because the teacher would start asking me all the time because I had been working for a few years. So I had so
Oh.
much information and they were like, oh my goodness, like that is so great. And they really were very, just kind of very respectful of,
Yeah.
wow, that. Like, how do you
Right.
know that? I'm like, because you work in it. And, I go to court or I go to the hospitals or I go to
Yeah.
the schools and I'm in case conferences. And so it never escaped me that college is so much more than just getting that degree.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes.
It is so much more. There's just so much more that you learn outside of the academics when you go to college. And yeah, it really shapes how the way you view the world, and it informs you culturally in terms of the fact that people are different from you. People have been raised differently than you. They think differently than you. You might hear some crazy stuff that people think or believe or so on and so forth. But you have to understand that's how it is in the real world.
Right.
Because when you get into the workplace, there are all sorts of different people coming from so many different backgrounds.
Right.
And you have to learn how to adapt and
Right.
work within that.
Absolutely. You know what? One thing I learned while in college, not to ask everybody, like not everybody you can ask for some of their fries.
Yeah. No.
Like
No.
I'm from Cayman. We share stuff, right? And
Yeah.
I had a friend. She was my friend,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Can I have some fries?" She was like,
Nope.
"Absolutely not. This is my dinner." And I was like, "Oh, come on, give me a fry."
Yeah.
She was like, "No," and she put her hand over it,
Yeah.
and she was dead serious.
Oh, jeez.
So that was like, oh my God, I felt embarrassed, but I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. So not everybody
Yeah.
functions the same. This little island, people, you know, our culture is very different. But because we have a lot of nationalities here too,
Yeah.
you know, we have to learn how to function with them as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely so.
And
Yeah.
that's also like a good lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So let's talk a little bit about this podcast. So you
Mhm.
created this podcast in 2020. What was the reasoning behind that? And what are you doing with it?
For me, the reasoning for starting the podcast was mainly because I'm a creative. I'm someone that enjoys doing offering creative services. It's something I've been doing since college years, and I realized that I wanted to have conversations with persons who are doing the same thing. Those who own creative businesses, and who are doing that full time or on the side, so on and so forth. And I wanted to be able to break down what it takes to be able to create that, whether it's an extra income or essentially, or later on, a full time income for yourself using or providing creative services. have the same goals and visions that I have, and to be able to create those conversations and share those with others, inspire them to get started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how can people find your podcast?
They can go to creativelypaidpodcast.com,
Okay.
and then it has all of the links in terms of where you can subscribe, because
Okay.
it's basically on any podcast platform. So wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find it. If
Okay.
you just look for the Creatively Paid Podcast,
Okay.
you'll find it.
And so people pay to listen to this?
No, it's
Oh,
absolutely free.
so yours is free.
Yeah.
So you're not making any money off of it.
At the moment, no. Of course, there's plans to figure that out in terms of how to monetize and so on and so
Okay.
forth. But yeah,
So how many subscribers do you have?
with podcasting, it's a bit different. You can't
Oh,
really
so you
tell.
don't know?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can only
Okay.
tell based on the downloads or how much people have downloaded.
Okay.
So at this point, it's over 1,000 downloads so far, as far as I
Wow.
can remember. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So how long is it? Like, when do you do it? Like, is it some type of organization, like where you do it once a week, or for how long? Like, how does it work?
For me, on the back end, basically I batch record the episodes. So
Okay.
I book the interview possible to be, so I can be about 2
For that domain and all that stuff?
Yes.
Or, okay. So yeah, I'm imagining this is how it works. Okay. All right. Well, that's great. And so, so basically, so that is something that you do then, and it's pretty serious to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
who are some of your guests? Like when you say you book guests and stuff,
Yeah.
like, who are some of those people that you talk to?
So far, oh man, it's been a decent amount of people. I've had there's various types of people. So I've had YouTubers and various business owners. One YouTuber that I had on last year, Ali Abdal. He's like a big productive YouTuber. So he talks about like productivity and stuff like that. So we had a conversation talking about passive income and like what he did and his story, because he's a doctor in the UK, but he does YouTube part-time.
Okay.
So we kind of broke that down and talked about his story with that. And I've had a web designer by the name of Ran Segal. He owns a web design education company, and he's been teaching designers all over the world how to learn how to use a very specific platform that helps web designers design websites in a way that that's really beautiful and is very different from the conventional way websites are designed now.
Right.
Yeah, and there's been a few others as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been a decent amount of different types of guests.
So you definitely sound like a techie.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm like, huh? What? Who? Okay, good stuff. So, and there's lots of people speaking your language.
Yeah.
So, do you think like it's the language of the future?
I would definitely say so.
And what's gonna happen to people like me?
What's really funny with what's happening now is that technology, of course, is advancing very rapidly. But of course, all of us use technology. So more and more, there's a deeper need for education in terms of the technology space, and to help all of us kind of get on board with what we kind of need to learn to be able to manage in the world right now. Because
Right.
yeah, we all have a laptop, we all have a computer, we all have various devices that we need to connect up. And more, there's more education being put out there, whether it's free or paid, that is extremely detailed and really helpful for people who aren't techies, because not everyone is, and most people aren't actually, and most people who use and interact with tech are not going to be quote unquote techies. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And
Uh,
that's why they need you.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you help the
Right.
children, help the people, help the people, Casey, please. No, for sure. And I want to talk some more about your brand designing, your web
Mhm.
designing, and some of the things that you do. You said you do photography as well.
Yep. Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it just sounds like I don't know where you find the time for all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, where do
Yeah.
you find the time for all this stuff?
Funny enough, it kind of boils down to kind of organization and prior, yeah, choosing your priorities. So for me, for the most part, it's choosing the various times as to when I do these things. So when it comes to any other work that's outside of full time work, whenever a client comes, I know how much time it takes, so I'm able to kind of gauge and estimate that, and then I use my extra times, like when I come home from work or the weekends, to work on side projects and so on. And yeah, for the most part, that's kind of how I have to structure things, and even sometimes just using your lunchtime and so on to work on the things that I know that I'm passionate about, that I want to build, and yeah,
All right.
mm,
Well, we will definitely come back with some more from you, and continue this conversation really just about what you're doing, like explaining some of that
yeah,
stuff. Right? It's so interesting. This is your Success 101 show on Thursday. This is Straight Talk Drive at 5. Catherine Tyson, your host, and my guest this afternoon is another awesome, amazing young Caymanian, Casey Reed, just talking about all the stuff that he's actually doing. And we didn't even talk about you busy doing your master's in business administration, that master's of business administration. So you're working on an MBA as if you have nothing else to do.
yeah.
So that's going to be something. We will be back with more. Stay tuned for more Straight Talk. And welcome back to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show. Catherine Tyson, your host. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. This is Thursday, Success 101, and we are almost close, almost near Friday. I know some of you, I don't know about you guys, but I'm quite excited about Friday this time because I'm exhausted. What a week it has been. And I know I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I really, really do. But yeah, quite excited that and then is Monday the holiday?
Yeah, yeah, this
All
Monday,
right,
yeah.
long weekend, 4-day weekend. It's on and popping. All right, I am joined in the studio by Mr. Casey Reed, who is our fabulous young Caymanian that we are highlighting this afternoon on our Thursday Success 101 show. He has a bachelor's degree in management information systems from Oakwood University, currently pursuing his MBA, that's Master's of Business Administration, if you didn't know. And he'll be completing that next year. So he even has a plan of when that's going to be completed. And he's a brand designer, a web designer, a podcaster, and a techie, as you would have heard if you listened to the first half of the show. And he has a podcast called the Creatively Paid Podcast. And that podcast focuses on mastering the business side of creativity and growing creative businesses online. It aims to inspire creatives, such as designers, videographers, photographers, to build revenue streams and create a more significant impact in the things they are passionate about. Casey Reed, you are just bringing everybody to light. You're bringing them all into the lights. And creatives, there's a space for you, and this is what we're going to do. Is that that's kind of in a nutshell what you're doing?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Yeah. That's
right.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And so now I want to ask you this. So in helping creatives, that was also inspired by kind of helping yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And it really came from like what I've done in terms of how I got started, and especially during college times and after college, all the various things I had to go through in terms of trying to figure out how to make this work. And because it's not like a traditional job, it's
Right.
You can't just go and apply for a job and that's it. No, there's a lot of various things that as a creative that's basically doing a lot of gig based work. You kind of have to put yourself out there, and there's various systems in place that you want to have in place to be able to allow that to work in your favor. So yeah, I had to, for the most part, draw from my experiences and also connect with others to create this podcast and to continue making episodes. Yeah.
All right. And so the being a brand designer, a web designer, that's obviously a part of you being able to have your business or creatives businesses represented properly. Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this would have been something that you have done some research on, like just kind of trial and error stuff, seeing what works, what doesn't. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. Essentially that plus doing courses, like putting money down and learning and getting various courses, and in some cases mentorship to learn about that craft and to be able to do it properly. And of course, just getting the experience and getting out there and trying and working with various clients and starting from the various first projects and just going from there. Yeah.
So where do you want to go with this? Where do you see yourself going with this? If you had a, I guess a dream, like a wish, what would it be like? Like, what would that look like?
For me, what that would look like is essentially I want to be able to own my own business. That's the goal.
That's as a brand developer type of thing.
Yeah, someone who designs websites and also can help businesses with their brand strategy.
So if they bring an idea to you, then because that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
They bring an idea to you and they say, "Oh, this is my business," and then you kind of go, "You know what? I think this would be the thing that would work for you." Is that a part of it?
Yeah, basically just helping them understand like how to get themselves online and the best way to do that. Because of course there's many ways to create a website, but there are many things that you should know in terms of like how to set your website up in the best way, how to make that website work for you, and for it to not just be a pretty digital space. There's various things that you would want to know. So helping businesses get through that process, because it can be hard. You already have a lot of things to focus on as a business owner.
Right.
So I would want to help persons get online and be kind of that person that can help you with the website side of things, so you don't have to stress your head about that.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
because you're absolutely right. You are stressing your head about it. I don't even think about it. I
yeah,
literally like my daughter helps me with stuff with the
yeah,
Instagram. She'll delete stuff that I put up. Like,
yeah,
no, we're not putting that up. Why? I was at a pool party.
yeah,
No, it's not going up. It's not your brand. So I kind of have an idea
yeah.
about branding and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And you're so right. That is the part of it that I don't like. And that's a part
Yeah,
of it that a lot of people don't like, because that's kind of like, a lot of, if you are a creative, you
mm,
like the delivery of stuff. You like
right.
standing up in front of the people, you like entertaining if that's what
Yeah,
you're doing. But
yeah,
that other stuff is like all the little details.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's what you
exactly.
want to do, deal with the details.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So if somebody wanted your help or something, what would they can reach out to you?
Yeah, the best way to reach out to me is through my website, caseyreed.com, or you can find me on Instagram. I'm the most active there on Instagram. And my Instagram handle is just Casey, KaseyKreid. So
Okay.
Casey K Reed. And yeah, feel free to send me a DM or leave a comment.
All
And
right. So
yeah,
they can see some of the stuff that you've done on there.
yeah. And on
Okay.
the website as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So just see like what you're talking about,
yeah.
because yeah, it's Chinese. Now, Casey, I also know that, well, should I say a little bird told me, or no, I was actually somewhere and I saw you performing.
Yeah.
You're a great singer. When did that happen? I'm not kidding. Like
Yeah,
I'm a tough judge when it comes to singing.
yeah.
So yeah, it was amazing, an
Oh.
amazing performance. You have a great voice. It almost felt like you had taken some type of voice lessons. Have you?
Mm. For me, my singing journey has kind of been almost my entire life. Of course, started out in church, and for the most part, that's where that was honed and crafted. But I got a lot of, like, I would say, quote unquote, more serious experience during my college times, because I was a part of a choir called the Aeolians, and they're basically, they've won choir awards, because yeah, there's like big choir competitions, and they were actually ranked one of the best choirs in the world.
Wow.
And I think in a few different categories, one being Negro spirituals, and I don't remember the other categories. So was in that choir for 2 years, and definitely learned a whole lot during that time in terms of like how to actually sing and how to go through the whole process of understanding harmony and so on and so forth,
Ah.
right? So yeah, so that coupled with just, I've been, the fact that I've been singing for quite a while, since I don't know, 10 or earlier than that. Yeah, I've been singing for a while in
What are you going to
college
do
and
with
so on.
that? I think you just need to like put this brand of the designer stuff down and just go find some big world stage or something. No, you're really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I don't know, man. For me, it's still figuring out what I would really want to do. Because I know, like, for me, I really want to be able to make music and to kind of figure that out. But for the most part, it's just really figuring that out. Because for the most part, it's with any singing that I do now is mainly with church and events like around the island and so forth. But yeah, it's just, for me, honestly, it's still like I'm just trying to figure that out in
Right.
terms of what I really want to do on
Okay.
the singing side of things.
All
Yeah.
right. But don't listen, don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm that person that tells young people, go live your dreams.
Yeah.
Go, it'll all be here when you're done. When the dust settles, it'll all be here, but throw caution to the wind. But no, absolutely. I think, yeah, I just wanted to tell you that because I saw you and I heard you, and I was like, that's the first time I'd ever heard you sing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
first time. And I think it was a celebration of life for Teresa Chin.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, and that was so beautiful. The whole
Oh,
thing was just beautiful.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
really
that
was.
is like a celebration of life for sure. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it was not a funeral per se. It was
Yeah.
like, no, let's celebrate this amazing woman's life.
Mhm.
And so you were just one of one of the people that actually did a musical item, and it really really was something else. So, what do you do for fun?
What I do for fun, man, it's an interesting question.
Yeah,
For
because you
me,
sound pretty busy.
for the most part, what I do for fun is kind of a mix of a couple things. Whether it's just hanging out with friends, and if that looks like that can be various things, whether it's just doing the various things in Cayman, like bowling, movies, just chilling. Because one thing I've realized as you get older, you really value just being around your friends because like work and all this kind of stuff takes up your time. So honestly, having fun now, funny enough, is kind of simple. It's just regular little stuff: bowling, movies, chilling, beach,
Dinner and stuff like that,
yeah,
going out to eat.
yeah, brunches, you
Okay.
know, yeah.
All right.
For the
Good.
most part, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm just glad you do stuff because it sounds like you're quite busy. All right, let me share this. Let the room meet your greatness. I challenge you to let the room meet your greatness. I challenge you to step into the next room and give the world the best version of you. I challenge you to let your light shine because when you let your light shine, it can lighten up what could be a dark moment for someone else.
Mm,
Because when you let your light shine, you inspire those in your presence to be a better woman or a better man simply because it feels good to be in your presence.
yeah.
In order to do this, you have to stop negative talk. Stop dimming your light for the sake of others. Set and own your own boundaries. Go to bed every night and say, I don't hold back my greatness. I won't hold back my greatness. I didn't hold back my greatness. I inspired someone by being me. I made a mark. I left an imprint in someone's life. I didn't shrink or play small for the sake of others. I let my light
Mm,
shine. What do you think?
man, I really that really resonates with me because that's honestly how I feel about my life. Because I really want to be someone that creates an impact. I really feel that all of us have so many things buried within us, and it really takes us just really getting out there and doing that thing and being willing to not be afraid of the criticism or what people might think and so on and so forth, because we have a light to shine,
Right.
and there's others that people just need to be able to see you doing that thing to inspire them and so on and so forth. It's like a match lighting or a candle lighting another candle. It just keeps going one, but someone has to start,
Right.
and for me it's like I'm gonna start, and hopefully it inspires others as well to do the same.
Right. I was telling somebody that yesterday. I said, stop worrying about people who are laughing at you that are doing better than you,
Mm,
and stop worrying about people who are laughing at you that are not doing as good as you.
yeah,
Because people that are doing better than you are doing better than you.
yeah,
So you're
yeah,
letting them laugh, like,
yeah,
no, they, like, let them inspire you if
yeah.
anything. And generally when people are good people anyway,
Hmm.
they're not going to be laughing at you. So if someone
Yeah,
is laughing at you, that's on them.
yeah,
But don't worry about the noise
yeah,
of the masses.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
just get yourself together and stand great. I have another piece too. Stand in your power. Your power and your resiliency is there. Some days it's active. You're living in your power. You're owning it. You're walking with it. You're walking beside it. Power is everywhere around you. And on other days you have it, but you set it on the shelf temporarily. No one took it away from you. There are times you might feel powerless, but no one can take your power. No one. You may have to dig deep into your reserves. You may have to think about it differently, but power is always yours. You're always in the driver's seat of your life, and things may happen to you, but there's a point where you can slide right back into the driver's seat.
Mm.
And how do you do this? By realizing that you are the driver in the seat of your life. Find people who remind you of who you are.
Yeah.
Find people who celebrate you. Have a tribe of conscious leaders,
Mm.
conscious people filled with love, realizing that energy grows where energy flows,
Mm.
and celebrate every win because you do have wins,
Mm.
and say no to things that no longer serve you as you stand in your power.
Mm.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
think? I mean, and a lot of that is kind of is based on spirituality too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just really owning you being in charge of the things that you're doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like not blaming it on someone else or finding
Yeah.
excuses.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we can find excuses. We can excuse ourselves out of everything,
Yep.
Yes. And so 6 years, because it's been about 6 years now since you finished college, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you look back at that, at the trail
Hmm.
that you've left behind, the trail that you've blazed to where you are,
Yeah.
what would you think some of your kind of secrets to getting there or to getting here would be? Because obviously it's 6 years. So
Yeah.
if I talk to you in 10 years, it's going to be
It's gonna be different at that point.
something
Yeah.
very, yeah,
Yeah. Very, very
exactly.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say some of the tricks of the trade or
Um.
trade? Yeah.
Honestly, for me, what I would say is, which is pretty simple, and I would say is commonly known, but it's not commonly actioned, and that is the whole idea of being resilient and being determined and being patient. When you're young, I'm still young, of course. It's very
Younger.
easy. It's very easy to think that everything has to happen now.
Right.
So I have to be at this place that I have in my head right now. But we have to be willing to just go through the process and to enjoy the journey.
Right.
And yeah, and to not be so stuck on the result
Right.
that we inhibit ourselves from actually starting.
Right.
So being patient through that process and being determined to continue that
Right.
process, like if it's going to take months, years, 10 years, so on and so forth, being willing to be patient and determined to go through that process and being resilient enough to deal with the things that will come up,
Right.
because things won't be perfect. You will trip and fall somewhere. People will say things to you. You'll be treated unfairly, so on and so forth. You have to be resilient to be able to break through that and continue,
Right.
and to not stop or to be defeated per se when those things happen.
Right.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I would say.
No, absolutely. There's such a thing as the neutral zone. So there's
Mm,
where you are now and the end result, but then there's that neutral zone, and
mhm.
you have to be prepared for what you will do in the neutral zone.
Yep,
Right? How you'll
exactly.
keep yourself motivated, how you'll
Mhm,
keep yourself with the energy, with the verve, with
mhm.
everything, right?
Yeah.
Because life ebbs and flows, and there is that lull time where it
Mhm.
feels like nothing's happening,
Yeah.
but actually you might just be on the other side of the breakthrough.
Yeah.
So you got to be resilient, as you
Yes.
said,
Yep.
and be patient, and just
Mhm.
know like it's all a part of the process.
Yep. For
Because when
sure.
you do look back on your journey, you do see that first 6 months
Mhm.
and what it feels like right now must feel very different.
Yeah, it feels like nothing at this point because it's just 6 months at this point. But
Yeah.
in the midst of that, 6 months literally felt like 6 years.
Felt like forever.
Felt like forever.
Well, I saw you walking in town, I tell you. I was like,
with the shirt and tie.
there go
and-
Casey
yeah.
walking again with his shirt and tie. And I think your mom was like, yeah, he's trying to get a job.
Yeah.
He's trying to get a
Wow.
job. I was like, he is hustling though. And I love that. I really love the fact that I can remember that. And
Mhm.
it's just the fact that I can remember it. I'm just joking. I remember everything. But the fact that I can remember that 6 years ago, and it doesn't seem like 6 years has passed, but it's
Yeah.
flown by. And what I remember is the fact that you were walking, the fact
Mhm.
that you were out there hustling,
Yeah.
the fact that you were out there putting in that work and being patient, and maybe being frustrated and pulling that tie off at the end of the
Oh,
day and
yeah.
saying, oh, I'm so tired of talking to people. Will
Yeah.
somebody just give me a little chance? Right. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of young people are not doing that walking.
Mhm.
They're complaining,
Yeah.
or they might be mad. They might be, feeling like things aren't fair. But
Yeah.
hey, are you out there, burning holes in your shoes like Casey
Yeah.
was? To burn a couple of holes in his
Oh yeah.
That's so funny. I'm sorry. But no, it's just
Oh, wow.
really, yeah. And I think that, those are some of the lessons that we talk a lot about.
Mhm.
Now, let's talk about your foundation. So, what do you think were some of the lessons that were kind of poured into you
Mhm.
from your parents or your support, system?
For me, my foundation, which definitely was very, very important and really helped kind of shape a lot of the views that I have in terms of like how I want to lead my life and so on. For me, my foundation with mommy and daddy, they they really instills the whole idea of like working hard and having a vision, having a dream, and really pushing for that, and not necessarily completely relying on someone else to make that happen for you. Because I think that is one of the biggest always be doing ourselves a disservice. And yeah, I think it's really important for us to be able to be disciplined with ourselves first and to understand what it is that we need first, because if we aren't able to do that, how can you truly serve anyone else? How can you truly be a decent person to anyone else? So
Right.
yeah,
Right. And but tolerant with others.
right,
So kind of understanding a little bit, right?
yeah.
All right. Focus on process, not outcomes.
That is being kind of similar to what we were talking about before, being patient with the process and enjoying the process. Because if you get stuck on the result, if the result happens too soon, you don't know what to do with yourself.
Right.
And if you're just fixated on the result, you don't have the ability to enjoy the process. Right.
You're missing smelling the flowers on the way.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Good. Find a way to love everything that happens.
Oh,
how's that?
That's an interesting one.
It is. It is. Or maybe the word love, maybe you could replace it with appreciate.
Yeah. Appreciate, understand. To me, that sounds like shaping your perspective. Because perspective is key. Because of course, so many things happen in life, good and bad. And the only thing that we have control over truly is our perspective on how we allow that thing to affect us, or how we deal with that thing. So yeah, ensuring that we have the best perspective on all things.
All right. Yeah. Last one. Find one thing that makes you wiser every day.
Yes, I think that's definitely extremely important. And I would probably tag onto that to say, try to learn every day if possible.
Right.
Read a book, do something, learn something you don't know about.
That's a good one. Yeah. That led me to a last one again. I'm going to have like 10 last ones. Study the lives of the greats. That's a good one. Because the people that have done it before you. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have to rewrite the book.
Right. You don't have to make the same mistakes. You can learn from their mistakes.
Right. So many people want to fall into the puddle to know it's there. Listen, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. You have been listening to Mr. Casey Reed, brand designer, web designer, podcaster, and techie. And he is just one of our amazing young Caymanians that you're going to hear about if you haven't heard about him. Tell them how they can find you again.
You can find me on Instagram. So Casey K Reed. That's KASEYKREID. And then you can also find me on my website, caseyreed.com.
All right, great. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
It has been awesome catching up with you, and just feeling like I'm a part of ushering in the new generation of leaders. Yes. You're out there, and I want to shine that light on you. I want people to know we're here, and we're doing great things, and we just continue that, and just be in our own space and be able to walk side by side with our counterparts from other places.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. And that's how we're going to make that whole, that melting pot thing work. Thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. This has been your Thursday Success 101 show. This is Straight Talk Drive at 5. I am Catherine Tyson, your host. I hope you guys have a great evening. I will talk with you again on Monday when it will be Medical Mondays brought to you by Health City. Have a great evening.